Welcome to SoMo Garage, bringing you the latest racing news, sim racing talk, driver chat, and highlights from the SoMo Racing Leagues with SoMo Racing League drivers. Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Get ready for 1 hour of kicking the tires in the SoMo Garage with your hosts, Reilly and Paul Zotta. SoMo Garage starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to SoMo Garage. I'm Aaron Reilly along with Joe Mitchell and Paul Zotta. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing alright. Feeling kind of crappy. How you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I thought you'd be static after that big win, Joe.
Man, it lasted a little bit until I started feeling like crap, so I don't know. I just keep getting headaches and I feel nauseous. Just not feeling great last week or so.
Yep, we ended up having our first chase race in SoMo at Chicagoland, and Front Row Joe takes the pole and the win. So congratulations, Joe.
Yeah, thank you guys. I mean, there's a couple guys that ran into some issues and stuff, but I think, like, all in all, that was an awesome race. I went back and watched the broadcasts and replays and stuff, and a lot of guys were racing really hard, but trying to keep it clean, and I mean, it showed. That was just an awesome race, and you could feel the pressure in it. I had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you definitely had the fastest car. Like you were saying, maybe the first 20 laps or so, but having the fastest car the first 20 laps, it allowed you to get out front, stay out front, and just really kind of control the race at that point. A couple of cautions fell your way and all that, but a heck of a way to start the chase out, man. I mean, now you got two more races. You got one track coming up that's not so good for you, but definitely a lot of pressure. There's got to be a lot of pressure relief now for at least for the next two races.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't know. I didn't really have high hopes going into that race, to be honest with you. I didn't think that I was going to do as well as I did. I figured with the chase being here, there's been some other guys that have just been crazy fast all season long, and I expected them to step their game up and be even faster, and it was crazy. So many people were fast at different times. Like, I was good on a short run, and if you'd asked me in the first half of the race if I thought I would win, I would have told you yes. But something changed. I don't know if the track rubbered up and I could feel it, but I struggled the whole second half of the race. And I ended up being on a different pitch strategy than the other guys I was running around. It really helped out. And I don't know. I looking back on it, I need to work on my long run speed because there was a lot of stress going on there. I got caught by pretty much everybody, so I got some work to do.
That's what I was gonna ask you guys. Going into that first chase race, could you feel the intensity pick up? Can you kind of just tell like everybody kind of stepped up their game a few notches?
Yeah, I think so for sure. Because the saying, the cream rises to the top, and like the halfway point, you could see all those. There's a ton of chase guys up in the top 10 the whole race. So I think, just a lot of guys they showed a lot more speed, and you could just see it. I don't know. I don't generally get nervous during races or anything like that, but that one, I was sweating. I was shaking when it was all over with. I don't get like that, so I don't know. I definitely felt something. I don't know if it was adrenaline or just pressure in general, but it was definitely a lot different.
Yeah, the one thing I've seen, and even now, we got the replay from Thursday night's chase race playing in the background here, And you see all the guys with the green numbers and the green banners and stuff. There was a lot of chase drivers around each other for a good part of that race, and it's pretty cool to see. It's funny how when it gets down to the chase, that those guys always find each other. During the regular season, you may not be next to those drivers constantly, but it seems like in the chase, you're always racing another chase driver, and there's like a group of them together. So it's definitely making it interesting going, in this first round.
Yeah, definitely. I think all in all, though, I mean, it was a pretty good start. A couple of guys with connection issues. I think Paul, you were a victim of that, but I mean, hopefully it was just on your end and not an iRacing thing, and it's not going to continue, for other guys as well. But I think you got that straightened out, right?
I hope so. I mean, I broadcast Monday nights, I broadcast Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights, and for a little bit here and there, I was getting booted because even Joe broadcast with me on Monday night, and I was gone. I didn't even know I was gone right away, and then it kind of cleared up a little bit. I know the next day I was trying to get on to do some stuff with the points and everything, and I couldn't get on, and I called the cable company here, and they said there was something wrong in the area. So I'm hoping now that they've got it fixed that was it. It just sucks, man, to it happened, I think, with around 10 or 12 laps to go. I got myself up to like 11th or 12th, and was just trying to get myself into like maybe a top 10 finish for the night. And man, all of a sudden everybody just disappeared. So I took it off the track, and sure enough, man, quality went red. I was waiting a minute to see if it would come back down. It never did, and I came back in with 5 laps to go, and it was under caution. So I ended up 15th. So, I mean, I guess it wasn't really that bad. It could have been a whole lot worse, but it just kind of, I wasn't having the best night to begin with anyway. I was having troubles coming in. I had a migraine like you wouldn't believe, and just with the stress of the issues I had coming in, then have that happen, man, it was a real heartbreaker. But we'll see. This week we're going to New Hampshire, and then we got Dover. Those are 2 tracks that kind of even it out, I think. You know what I mean? These bigger tracks that we were on, Chicagoland, you see a lot more guys with speed up front, but New Hampshire could be a race anybody can have a chance at. So I'm hoping for, a better night, man, and see how it goes. Hopefully I can get something going here.
Yeah, I think it'll all come around. I mean, some of these guys that ran good on the mile and a half might have trouble going into New Hampshire, and Dover's, another track where, either you're good or you're not. So I guess we'll see coming up. Kind of a couple of tough racetracks ahead, but fun racetracks too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in these next 2 races before we move into the next round here. So definitely looking forward to it. And all right, guys, we have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break and come back and talk a little bit more about stuff we got going on at SoMo, and then talk some NASCAR.
Listen to me. I'm the crying man. You are the backup singers. Now, that's just the natural order of things. If we all start crying, it's just going to confuse the audience.
Do more and stay active with O2 Dermalief, the ache and pain relief gel like no other. No smell, no tingling sensation, and no greasy feel. O2 Dermalief is a natural pain relief for everyday aches, pains, bumps, and bruises. Oxygen is the secret. It's the natural way to relieve and revitalize. Your joints, muscles, and skin need oxygen to thrive, and O2 Dermalief delivers a rich supply of molecular oxygen in a new, state-of-the-art formula. Every day we hear new stories of pain relief from satisfied customers. Shouldn't you try O2 Dermalief too? Score a $5 discount on your purchase of O2 Dermalief. Visit O2Dermalief.com and use promo code SOMO999. That's the letter O, the number 2, Dermalief.com, and enter SOMO999 to get your $5 discount.
It's all right, he's one of us. One of us? He looks like 3 of us.
You guys look like 2 seals fighting over a grape.
Let him spout for the moment.
Do you think you'll end up free in and tied on to
Now back to your hosts.
All right, welcome back to SoMo Garage here. All right, guys. So going into this week, we have New Hampshire coming up. Pretty tough race, pretty tough racetrack. Hard, very, very hard to pass here. What do you think? How do you think this race is going to play out for some guys? Do you think that it's going to definitely be like, just like we talked about a few minutes ago, kind of an equalizer, or do you think it's going to play out a lot like it did over the summertime, where you just have one or two guys that just get out front and dominate the race?
Nobody wants to answer that. I guess I'll take a shot at it. I think because of the way things have progressed here, I got a feeling like we ran a practice the other night and we saw Lupe Gonzalez on there, and he's fast there. And I mean, was Chris Samard, I believe, was out there too, pretty fast out there. And the problem I see is you're going to have guys that are fast, but you're going to have guys that are slow, and it's going to make for, when they catch the lap traffic trying to get around. I think that's where you're going to see the equalizer come in. And I'm hoping that, we don't have the big one that takes out a lot of these faster drivers, because I'd like to see some of these faster guys be able to run the complete race, and if they have the dominant car, dominate. But I just think, like I said, when they catch the lap traffic, which is going to happen, it's so hard to pass. I don't know how that's going to play into it.
I think speaking of lap traffic and everything, I got caught up with a lapped car, and it ended up me and Lupe took a ton of damage from it. We just caught him in a really bad spot, and I had to slam on the brakes and turn hard left to miss him, and I came across Lupe's nose, and I was able to recover. Lupe wasn't. That's something that happens frequently there. I mean, there's nowhere to go. It's such a flat track. There's really only one good line to run, and it all depends on where you catch people. And we were talking a little bit about it the other day, and I said it seems like a lot of the incidents and spins that happen there tend to happen off of turn 2, and a lot of the guys end up down in the grass. And in iRacing, if you're not stopped on the track surface, then it doesn't bring out a yellow. So I think we could see a lot of guys, if they're trying to push too hard at a certain point in the race and make a small mistake, it could cost them a ton of position.
Yeah, hopefully it it works out well, and the chase drivers have a chance to race it out, and just hopefully it's a clean race. And I know New Hampshire can go either way, so it'll be interesting to see. But we got Adam Baker here, and Adam, how's your season going, man? We're heading into the chase now. First chase race down. How did everything turn out for you so far?
I think it went pretty well, considering what was going on. I was actually on vacation last week, and so I had to bring my wheel with me. I was playing on a laptop as opposed to, like my usual setup, and I had to kind of, just hack stuff together to find a seat and, a place to play and all that stuff. And, considering all that stuff, I think it went pretty well. I got 6th place. At one point I was contending with Joe for the lead, and I haven't really had a lot of luck at that track, so I was just happy to get all the laps in.
Yeah, that's awesome, man, to be able to compete like that away from your normal habitat. That's definitely pretty cool. I think I've had to do that a few times too, so it's definitely it definitely pulls you out of your what you're used to, but you tend to adapt and get used to it, and kind of like you did, you ran pretty well. So
Yeah,
it's definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I was just gonna say, Joe was talking about that the other week. He did something with a car he took for a ride and only had like a milk crate or something to sit on, and so it just goes to show you sometimes even out of your elements, man, you can still put something together.
Yeah, it was just kind of disconcerting at first. The screen's way smaller. My audio wasn't coming through the headphones; it was coming um, out of the laptop, and so like I had to adapt to some of those things. And the first so many laps of a race were kind of weird, but then I'd get into the zone and just like focus, the same way I would on my normal setup. And the wheel wasn't any different. My seating position wasn't like way different. It was just the environment around me was different. So um, I don't think the skills change, necessarily going from one setup to another. It's just being able to adapt quickly. And some people can do that a little faster, and some people it takes a little bit longer. But I think the skills definitely translate no matter where you are.
I was just gonna say that. That's why I was racing you so hard when you caught me, because I didn't want to get beat by a guy who wasn't racing with the comforts of his usual stuff. I was determined.
I wasn't even thinking about it at the moment. Honestly, I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm up here in the lead or near the lead, and because I didn't have such a great qualifying run, and it's just been a bad track for me in the past. I think last year I got taken out like 20 laps into the race, and it was a rough start to the chase, but was able to recover. If last week is any indicator, it's a pretty good start to the chase, and I'm looking forward to New Hampshire. It's not one of my better tracks either, but I've had some success there in the past, and I'm looking forward to doing something a little bit different than what we usually race at.
So you're running all three series, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me, but we're about to start the first race this week for the trucks and the Xfinity. How you feeling going into those races?
The series, I've had a pretty good season. I got 6 wins, and I think I'm the number 1 seed going in. At least I would think I am.
You're number 1 in the Portside Jaguar Land Rover Truck Series. You're starting first, and also in the Lazy Days Racing Xfinity Series, you got the number 1 seat starting both chases this week.
Nice. Cool. Well, that takes a little bit of pressure off for sure. I've never raced the trucks at New Hampshire. It's kind of a strange combo, I think, but it should be fun. The thing I usually struggle with is kind of what we talked about coming out of turn 2 with the loose car. And it seems no matter how lightly you get back on the throttle, it's just like that little dip coming out of the turn likes to just grab the car and turn it around. I had that problem last year in the chase. I'd spun out a couple times. I don't usually hit stuff, which is a good thing, I guess, but I'm looking forward to the truck race for sure. And the Kentucky race and the Xfinity cars will be a lot of fun. I think that race went pretty well earlier in the season. I don't really remember where I finished, but I like the 1.5 mile tracks, and that one's pretty unique. So that'll be a fun race.
Yeah, it's got to be a big relief, definitely going in with a little bit of a cushion. You hope you don't have to use that cushion, of course, but it's obviously there if you need it. So that's got to be a good feeling, at least starting off these chase races.
And there's definitely a lot of contenders right there at the back bumper, man. I mean, one thing I got to say is the guys that are here that have been dedicated all this time running in all three series this season, because we do run a full season, and man, the competition has just exploded. It's just amazing to see what's out there on the track week after week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the truck series. There's always a handful of guys right up front. It's really, really competitive. Xfinity is pretty much the same way. The Cup cars, I think it ends up a little bit more spread out just because of the way those cars are. You have to be a little bit more careful and give a little bit more space. So the racing ends up more spread out. But the other 2 series it's side by side like the entire time. So it's gonna be very intense for these last 10 races.
it's definitely tight enough competition where, if you slip up, you make a mistake, somebody's right there to capitalize on it. And
Yeah, definitely.
that's what I can definitely say about SoMo. You're not gonna, if you join SoMo, for some good, clean, competitive racing, that's exactly what you're gonna get. These guys race hard every week. They don't leave anything on the table. It's a lot of fun racing with these guys. Most of these guys you can race around, and feel pretty confident. And it's really really cool to be part of a league like that. So definitely going to be interesting going forward in all three of these series, and see who's the champion, and see if we have a repeat champion, or a new one. So it's going to be definitely pretty cool to see all this come together in the next 9-10 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. The racing on Thursday was really intense. It was really clean, very respectful, and as the races go on, it's just going to get tighter and tighter, and everybody's going to try and get every last point they can. So it's definitely going to be a lot of fun, very intense.
Very cool, man, and glad to see you here tonight, and wish you the best of luck going into these chase races, and hopefully you come out on top. If not, let's have a good run, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And if I could, real quick before we move on, Adam, I'd like for you to just tell us a little bit more about Prolivio, where people can find out more about Prolivio. We, Prolivio sponsored some races over here at SoMo, and we've run a commercial, and I think it's a really good product. So just if you don't mind, fill us in a little bit more, give us some details.
Sure. So the design firm I work for, BZ Design in Rochester, New York, we're working on a Kickstarter project right now. It's called Prolivio. It's an innovative cooling device that helps relieve painful migraine symptoms for migraine sufferers. And I know I've talked with you, Paul, and I myself and a bunch of people on the team that I work with get migraines, and it's a really severe problem. It actually affects over 1 billion people in the world, so about 1 in 6, 1 in 7, somewhere in there. And migraines create this problem. It's a debilitating pain that basically you can't do anything at all. And a lot of people treat their migraines with ice packs to the forehead or somewhere on their neck or around their head. And there's a lot of flaws with just the way ice packs are. They're cheap, but they get wet. You've got to have a freezer with you, and then you've got to hold it up there, and sometimes it's too cold, and there's just a list of problems with them. And Prolivio is a smart headband, so you put it on just like a sports or athletic headband, and it's got controls on the side and controls on your phone to adjust the cooling temperature. So it has cooling plates on the inside that will get down to around 50 degrees, which is the ideal cooling temperature to relieve headache pain. And there's a lot of research and studies that have backed up the idea or the concept that cooling relieves headache pain or just pain in general. And so the headband provides immediate cooling. It doesn't create any mess at all. There's no condensation. It's portable, rechargeable, so you can take it wherever, and you don't need a freezer. And it works with your phone. And right now it's on Kickstarter. The early bird for the headband is $75. We've got a few more of those left. The campaign on Kickstarter is running for another 11 days, and we're making a real big push to try and get the final funding in this last 10 days or so. And we'd appreciate any support that you guys could offer. And you can learn more at prolivio.com or through that Kickstarter campaign. And we really appreciate you, Paul, allowing us to sponsor the race and having you run the commercial. And I've been able to run it on my car a couple nights for that throwback race and everything, so that's been cool. And it's a really great product, and we're really excited about it.
Yeah. I definitely had a lot of interest in it, and I didn't think I would be needing it because, like I told you before, I haven't had a migraine in over a year. And man, I just got one 4 days ago for 3 days. That was really killing. And I went through the same thing, man, with the ice packs and dripping all over. But with all the pain I was in, I didn't even care, man. But I definitely like to get the word out, and we do appreciate you guys coming on and sponsoring with us, man.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. Got a little bit of sad news out of Connecticut this weekend. Modified driver Ted Christopher was killed in a plane crash. He was 59 years old. Ted competed in the NASCAR Wheel and Tour Modified Series, and he was the 2008 champion as well. I'm not sure if he was on his way to Riverhead Raceway in New York, but he was scheduled to compete there in Saturday night's race, and unfortunately, Saturday afternoon he did perish in a plane crash. So, thoughts and prayers go out with Ted's family rather. And I personally got to meet Ted a long time ago, and in my early days when I actually raced, we used to race at a small track up in Agawam, Massachusetts, called Riverside Park Speedway, and Ted competed up there on a weekly basis in the modified series, and really nice guy. I actually got his autograph back in the day, so that was kind of cool to have and still have. So yeah, it's just anytime you see anything like this, guys, it's definitely a sad thing, an unexpected thing. So thoughts and prayers definitely go out with his family and his friends and all that. So great guy, and unfortunately, it's life. It happens.
Yeah, my buddy Mike Mahoney, he is on a tour modified team up in Massachusetts, and they race around Northeast quite a bit. He told me about him, and I really didn't know much about Ted because I'm not much into the modified series. But he said that he was a really great driver, really great guy, and everything too, man. And it's kind of tough too because he was on his way to race at Riverhead that night, and excuse me, never made it. And I guess what I heard was they took his car and did a memorial lap or something with his car and continued the race. But I just can't imagine how you could. I mean, I know you have to put on the race and everything, but man, that's got to be tough to try and go out there and run that race without him, knowing that he didn't make it there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a shame, man. I mean, but unfortunately, it does happen. But I don't really have much more to say about it. But he was a heck of a guy, and he's definitely gonna be missed in the racing community, and it did spread very quickly throughout the racing community, and he had a lot of he knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew him. So, but life goes on, and we'll keep on racing.
Yep.
Man, I will add one thing to that. I mean, there's been a few tough, unexpected losses of racers, team owners throughout the course of the year, and it's always sad to hear, but it's great to see that racing as a whole really comes together in times like that. That a lot of guys don't like one another. They're fierce competitors and everything, and to see people put their differences aside to really rally around people and their families in difficult times like that, it's really awesome to see, and I'm sure it's greatly appreciated by everybody, just the whole positive feedback that people get from the racing community in general. And I mean, it sucks that it has to be that way, but like you said, it's a part of life. It's just good to know that there's good people and organizations out there that will rally around you and try to help you in any way they can.
And you know what's cool? Same thing on iRacing, man. The iRacing community, for the most part, I'd say 99% of the guys here in the community are like that. We might not agree with each other, and we might not always get along, but when somebody's down, there's been guys who's put on different races for people with cancer and people who lost family members and stuff, and guys donate money, put money into the races to try to raise funds for them. And, even though this is a sim racing community, it's just good to see that bond is there. People can put that stuff down for a while and get up and help somebody that needs it.
Yeah, you're right. You guys are right. It definitely, the racing community definitely rallies together when times get tough, and you see big things happen. So, very very cool to see that. All right, guys. Moving forward, I I I put this little bit in here. Seven-time Cup champion Jimmy Johnson. Do you think he's going to make it 8 this year, or do you think those guys are just a little off? There's a couple of guys I know right now that are running a lot better than them. Um, but when times get tough and the pressure's on, they seem to come around and perform. So, what are your thoughts on that, guys?
Adam, you're not allowed to talk. I'll talk for you.
I was about to say.
I don't know, man. It's hard to count them out every year. I mean, I feel like every year, all of the sports stations, everyone, they all tell the same story. It seems like every year it's the same conversation that can he do it again? Can he do it? Is Jimmy done or whatever? And every year they come back and make everybody look stupid. So it's really hard to count them out. I mean, they have the best and most experience, I think, of everyone on what they need to do in those situations. And I just think from a mental standpoint, they're like far ahead of everybody else in being prepared on what they need for those final 10 races.
Yeah, definitely. I think my opinion of it is, I think that especially towards the end of the chase, if they make it to the last round, um, I would not count them out at all. It just seems like they've had some issues in the past. If they're not getting wrecked and they're finishing, I think they have a pretty good chance. Um, I did not think that they were going to win last year. I mean, it was just, when they ended up pulling off the win at Homestead, it was amazing to me. But like you said, Joe, you can't count them out, and I think that's a team right there that rivals together when times get tough, and they make it work somehow. I mean, they've proven themselves throughout the years for sure. Um, One other question I had is, do you think when Jimmy reaches 8, if Jimmy reaches 8, do you think retirement's definitely in the picture by then, or what do you think?
I don't think so. I think if he does get 8 this year, next year, anything like that. Also, Adam, I was joking. You can talk. I was just messing
Okay.
around. Um, I I don't know. I don't think he would. Honestly, I think if he got 8, uh, he's that kind of guy. He's extremely competitive, and if he feels like he has time left to go for 9, I think he'll do it. And yeah, I don't think 8 is the stopping point for him. I think it's just as long as he feels competitive and he enjoys doing what he's doing, he's going to keep going.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Um, he's got, a handful of years before, the age thing really does start to take its toll with, reaction time, decision making, all that stuff. This stuff we've seen with like Jeff Gordon and some of the older drivers who've retired in the past. That's going to affect everybody at some point. And I think once he sees that start to happen, that'll probably be when he makes his decision to get out. And to your last point, I didn't butt in. I wasn't sure if you were serious or not, Joe. But I think based on like last year's performances and this year's, it's been two of their statistically like their worst seasons. But they still find a way to win, and that's the thing that matters the most in this version of the chase with the rounds in the chase format, and it's what they're good at. I mean, they've done it 83 times, and they know how to get into position to win, even if they don't have the fastest car. They've seen things play out before. They have the experience in that position, And that's the thing that really makes a difference for them now. I don't think their cars are the fastest. I do think a lot of the tracks coming up are, their best tracks where they've got some of the best stats of, any driver in NASCAR history or any team in NASCAR history. And so that's big. I mean, that helps them out a lot, but it's the experience and being able to go into this without, any fear of failure or nervousness. They're just able to approach it as they would approach any other race, and they're able to get in position to win. So I don't know if it's going to be this year, but I could definitely see it happening in the next couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. So another kind of a sad story. Smithfield Foods and Richard Petty had a falling out. They announced they'll be leaving Richard Petty to go to Stuart Haas in 2018. Also rumored that Eric Almirola will follow that sponsorship to Stuart Haas.
And I think we lost Aaron for a minute, but yeah, I mean that's pretty sad to see that going on. I've been listening to a lot of different broadcasts and stuff about it, and it makes you wonder what's really the story behind there. You know what I mean? Because there's two sides of every coin, and I don't know, man. It just and I think I'm gone. I will be back.
Driver to win the Daytona 500 pole, and but she's obviously one of the most popular figures in NASCAR. Um, will she have a ride in 2018, or do you think Danica finally walks away from NASCAR forever?
Oh, I hope not. I'm not a fan. I don't know. I'm sorry. If I had the money right now, I'd buy her a cake just to let her know how happy I am.
Well, let me ask you this: why aren't you a fan?
I don't really. She's made some comments that were kind of more recent. I mean, I understand all the hype and everything coming into it. Um, I don't think that she lived up to it. I mean, you look at her teammates and everything that they've accomplished in the same equipment. She's had plenty of time to adjust and learn, and it's not like she has bums for teammates. She's in championship equipment, surrounded by champions. That her learning curve should have been significantly shortened by that, and she just hasn't been able to do anything good. Um, there's a couple little highlights, but that's about it. And she's made some comments in the past of saying it's not her job to sign autographs. Um, doesn't really sit well with me, being that NASCAR wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the fans. I mean, I think that those they take it for granted that people are going to be there and want their autographs or staying relevant. And I'm sorry, but as a professional athlete and someone that influential, yes, it is your job to sit there and sign autographs.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of that. And I think I also kind of understand why she probably didn't have as much success as a lot of people had thought. There's been some videos I've watched that talk about how IndyCar drivers or Formula One drivers, whenever they come over to NASCAR, they rarely have success. The only ones that have really had success were like Juan Pablo Montoya and Sam Hornish. So, and that was limited and it was fairly inconsistent success. Um, and so I think part of that, coming from that type of car to NASCAR, it's so different, and I don't think she ever really learned that style of racing, growing up. So it's just not her, her specialty or her forte. And so I think that's part of why she had such limited success. And there's another side to that, though. Like, she is the first woman to run a full season in NASCAR. There's some cool things that she has done. But yeah, overall, like, based on the equipment she's in and all that, she probably didn't perform as well as she should have. And there's just a lot of sides to that. And I know she's disappointed to not be coming back, so we'll see what happens. I don't expect her to get a ride, but she might. I mean, people can use the money for their teams, based on the publicity they'd get. So that's a big factor, and we'll see what happens.
I feel like with everything going on this season, with like how many experienced drivers and that are going to be out of rides and younger guys trying to come up, I don't know that she's really going to have an opportunity to get in anything more competitive. I really think like she was with a good team and a good organization that had a shot to really make some noise and was unable to do it. And I get the whole like learning barrier thing from open wheel stuff to stock cars. I mean, they're extremely heavy with more narrow tires and not a lot of brakes. It's been pretty well documented throughout the years, but I mean, as you said, like other guys have been able to do it, and she just hasn't. I don't want to come across and give everyone like the wrong image. I'm not like sexist. It's not because she's a woman or anything. I'm sure there are plenty of more capable women, and I would love to see it happen, but it hasn't happened with her. And I mean, it's unfortunate because of all the hype, and she is a huge role model to not really be able to live up to. It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I mean, I think she's had like you said, she's had several years to prove herself. You can't get much better equipment than what she's got. So, you know, whether she continues on or not, I mean, it's really. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a huge impact in the sport by any means. I mean, we'll all survive and move on if Danica Patrick doesn't race NASCAR next year. So. Kind of a weird season though, man. I tell you, there's a lot of open seats right now. A lot of guys, without rides right now. I shouldn't say open seats, just a lot of guys that don't have rides right now. So, just kind of going to be interesting here the next, couple of months to see how everything plays out, and see some of these big name guys get back into a car, what car they're going to get into. Definitely going to be interesting going forward. And Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, there was a war of words on Twitter. Brad is adamant that Toyotas are doing something against the rule book when it comes to the engine tuning. I don't believe any of that's true. NASCAR's hip to that game. They're not going to let Toyotas get away with any kind of crazy engine tuning, especially this time of year, when they're bringing when they're rolling tires off of a winning stage race car and dunking them in water to see if they have pinholes in them. They're not gonna, they're definitely not gonna let engine tuning slip by them. So I think I don't know if Brad's just upset because Toyotas are running better than Fords right now, but that's what it seems like to me.
I wonder if part of it is just like a mental game, being that it is the playoffs now. The pressure's ramping up. I think that I try not to have a biased view for this. If I wonder if like guys purposely wait to like really get under someone's skin till this point in the year. I feel like if they are mad about something or have a concern, if they, and I mean, he's been pretty vocal about it for the last several weeks, but he's kind of like ramped up with it, and I wonder if he's just trying to like get under their skin and play mind games. If you can have a mental advantage in the playoffs, the likelihood of forcing an error on another team is pretty high. So I wonder if that's really what it's all about. It's just like psychological games.
I mean, it's not the first time it's happened, so it's interesting to see. I mean, I don't think anything's ever going to come of it. I don't. I truly, honestly, don't believe that they could possibly be doing anything different than any of the other teams or manufacturers are, besides running better, or running better because they're either on their game or whatever. But I mean, Toyotas have just they've been fast. I mean, Furniture Row Racing. I mean, Martin Truex. I mean, they've proved week in and week out that Toyota right now is the car to beat. So definitely, Ford, Chevrolet, they have a lot of work to do heading into 2018. Can't wait to see how Chevrolet does with the Camaro. I think that's going to be a cool addition, and hopefully it's as fast as it looks, because it looks like a really, really cool car, and definitely looking forward to seeing that hit the racetrack next year.
Yeah, I've read a few articles, some speculation on the Toyotas are like the brand new body, and maybe there's more downforce or things. I think NASCAR, they limit it to a point. They can manage that and kind of calculate it to a point, but there's probably going to be some variance. The cars are all different. And I know Furniture Row, they just got like a brand new machine shop, and they're manufacturing kind of lighter and stronger parts than a lot of the other teams, and I think that's part of their advantage. But it's not engine tuning or things like that that are easily controlled by NASCAR. I think the new Chevy Camaro body is going to help the Chevy teams a lot, just because the SS is, a 3 or 4 year old body style. The panels are all the same as they have been, and I think maybe that's a little bit outdated. Maybe there's, a slight disadvantage to those teams right now just because of the brand new Toyota noses. But it'll be interesting to see next year how competitive they are, for sure.
Yeah, and another thing too, I heard, but I don't really know if there's any truth in it, that Ford was thinking about bringing the Mustang in now and pulling out the Fusion in the Cup Series. I guess because Toyota's got that new body style. Camaro definitely will be more relevant with the Camaro that's out out in the street. So why not go with the Ford Mustang? And if you look at the front of them, I think they'll all be a little bit more close aero, because they all have a similar type of style in the front,
And I mean, NASCAR has their own R&D center, so it's not like when teams and manufacturers get together and come up with a concept for a nose, NASCAR has the final say so. They put it through their own tests and work up their own numbers, and if necessary, make changes to get them within the same bracket aero-wise to keep it on a level playing field. I don't know. I was doing some research about the engine tuning deal, and I know a good bit about that just from doing it on cars in the real world. That just because like NASCAR's rulebook is obviously very, very strict and detailed, but just because NASCAR says what the final horsepower number should be, you're still free to work within those parameters up to that point. So there's a lot that can be done with how the power is delivered. You can change RPM ranges, everything. So it doesn't really surprise me, I guess. And I could see where frustration sets in. I mean, all these organizations are pumping millions of dollars into their own research and development, and they're falling short.
Right. So we're talking about against the rule book. You're talking about within the rule book. So as far as what Brad Keselowski is saying, he's saying that Toyota's going against the rule book when it comes to engine tuning. Um, do you feel that's the case or no?
I think that Brad Keselowski doesn't know anything about engine tuning, and that's an uneducated, ridiculous opinion.
Right. Yeah, I'd have to definitely agree with that. Now, a step further, do you think this time of year teams are pushing everything to the limits, maybe a little bit over the limit, to, get that little bit of an advantage, and just hoping basically that they don't get caught doing it?
Absolutely. I mean, look, before the race today, I mean, the 78 car went through inspection 4 times
Right.
before he could come through. So, and that's not really a news story. I think guys have been doing it all year. There's so much weight put on them to win throughout the year because it takes so much pressure off throughout the season. If you could win in the playoffs, it takes pressure off. You can experiment with things. So I think it hasn't really been a new thing, but guys have and teams have been pushing the cars to the absolute max. And we've seen penalties, issues, and wins taken away for guys that step over the line too. So I feel like NASCAR's doing the best job that they can do right now.
Yeah, I feel like that there's probably a lot of that going on, and whether they get caught or not. I mean, eventually they're going to get caught. I mean, I'm sure their hopes are they don't get caught before the season's over. Pushing the rule book and stretching the rules as far as they can get them, and probably and then some. So, I mean, teams get caught every week doing that kind of stuff. So, definitely going to be interesting. I'm kind of curious after this week if we see any penalties issued, post-race penalties for any of these cars after Chicagoland race. I'm thinking there's going to be a few. that's just what I have a feeling that's going to happen.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about. I thought it was interesting that they took tires from the 78 in the 18, I believe.
Yep.
And they took them to the blue tent, they called it. Basically, I mean, we've worked around cars. There's a dunk tank in there, and they put the tires in, and they're checking for slow leaks. I'm sure there's other equipment that they're doing other things and tests to the tires, but I thought, wasn't it last year NASCAR came out with a rule where they said it's great if you win a race and everything, but quit doing burnouts and blowing out your tires and tearing up the cars, because they still have to pass post-race inspection. And we've seen a lot of it. Guys blowing out tires during a celebration and tearing the cars up. I thought, whatever happened to that statement from NASCAR? They've been kind of quiet about it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just gonna say I'm not sure, but I know that Truex did that today, and Denny Hamlin at Darlington in his burnout. I don't know if he kind of like destroyed the quarter panel or anything, but when he was starting the burnout, he kind of tapped the left side of the car on the wall, which was kind of the thing that they were talking about earlier in the season and last year. And so I don't know if they rescinded that rule or what the status is right now, but yeah, they definitely don't talk about it, or they haven't in the last so many months.
Well, they haven't been talking about it. I feel like with what we've seen lately, it's gonna get brought up again here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of tearing your car up after the race. I don't think that's cool, especially if you're sitting in second place and you're watching the guy out doing burnouts and shredding his quarter panels off with his tires. You got to wonder if they're trying to hide something or whatever. I mean, I don't. I think if the way your car crosses the start finish line after the race is over is the way it should be. Set in the inspection booth to be looked at. So that's definitely a great point, and you're right. And I feel like that was an issue a while back, and it kind of went away. So be interesting to see going forward, especially through these chase races, how these guys handle that, and how NASCAR handles that, and how these teams treat these cars after the race. So definitely something to be talked about in the future. All right, Paul, you want to go over a couple things going on with SoMo this week coming up?
Yeah, this week the Portside Jaguar Land Rover Truck Series starts their chase, 12 drivers at New Hampshire, and that's going to be for 125 laps. We've got the 12 drivers locked in already, so this is going to be round one, race one, and see if anybody can pull Joe and lock themselves into the next round, or are we going to have a new winner or a non-chase winner? And that'll be right here Tuesday at 8:45. And then Wednesday, the Lazy Days Racing Xfinity Series will be starting their chase, and 12 drivers are locked in for that, and that'll be in Kentucky for a night race. And again, there'll be 12 drivers locked in, and we'll see, if one of those drivers can secure a spot into the next round, or is it going to go to a driver that's not, in the chase. We've seen that happen. I think it was in the Truck Series last week. Even though Kurt Davidson was in, he scored that win at the last lap, man, when the seas opened up. So, even if he wasn't going to be a chase driver, that would have put him in. So we could still see an upset. And then Thursday night, the Lazy Days Racing Cup Series will be going to race number 2 of the chase at New Hampshire. And we talked about that a little bit earlier on. So it should be pretty good. Definitely looking forward to the Thursday night race. I miss racing. I only get to race one night a week. So, Thursday night will be on PBR Broadcasting, and that'll be on 8:45 right here on YouTube. And Tuesday and Wednesday night will be right here on SR Broadcasting. Also, Joe and I on Monday night, we will be doing GAC race number 3. They're in the 360 dirt car, sprint cars. And they'll be at Williams Grove for race number 3. And then one thing I just want to bring up real quick. Next Saturday, Joe and I are going to be doing a race for IWW, I believe it is. It's the Weekend Warriors iRacing League, and they're doing a Daytona 250. And it's going to be a cash payout, and they're on Facebook for anybody that wants to get involved. Go and look them up. I'll see if I can get the links and put the links here in the comments. But that'll be next Saturday at 8 o'clock. It'll start, and there'll be a bunch of guys in there, and there will be cash payouts. iRacing World is a sponsor. The Hub is a sponsor, and Colby's Eye Paints, I think, is the other sponsor. So, that'll be here too. If you don't race it, if you want to just watch it, that'll be Saturday at 8 o'clock.
That's going to be pretty cool. A lot of great action coming up this week. So definitely stay tuned. But, guys, as always, a pleasure. It's always fun to do these with you guys. And Adam, thanks for coming on and joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's like you said, it's always a lot of fun to come in here and talk about some racing stuff, and hope everyone has a good week this week, and good luck to all the racers.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Have a great night.